Okay, Alhamdulillah, wa salatu salam ala Rasulullah. Let's start with a quick review of what we did last time. So we went through Surah Al-Mutaffifin, which is the fourth surah in the 30th juz of the Quran. And prior to that, we had been going through surahs which mentioned the Day of Judgment in with a very detailed description. Surah Al-Mutaffifin was a little bit different, and it was about the psychology of people who deny the Day of Judgment and how that psychology manifests in their actions. So they defraud people because they're not afraid of any accountability. And then we had also talked about how that denial may be may range from people who uh, say that they believe from their mouth, but actually their actions say otherwise. And then the other extent could be people who just completely, utterly reject the Day of Judgment, which means believers who don't care and disbelievers who very clearly are disbelievers. And then we had also talked about how ambition is a human instinct, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not deny that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually wants us to be ambitious in what really matters and what is really meaningful. And I'd given you guys some homework, which was to listen to a recitation. And I hope you had the opportunity to do that. Now, over the past 4 or 5 weeks, we've been going through different types of recitations. What I'd like to do at the beginning here is to ask you what has stood out for you in the different recitations that you've listened to. Yeah, sure, we went through different qira'at, we went through different reciters. There was one video that I shared with you, which was about the qira'at and the ahruf and what that actually means. But as you go through different recitations, have you found one that you really relate to, something that, a recitation which really touched your heart? If you have, just type it in the chat window. You don't have to describe the recitation. Just a yes would be enough for now. And that will indicate to me that you have uh, you've had the opportunity to explore something where the Quran is touching your soul, which is our focus, heart and soul, in this series. So if you have, please type it in the chat window. Just type in a yes. And if you haven't, then inshallah, I will continue to share more with you. And hopefully, you will begin to experience the sweetness that the Quran has in store for us. Today, inshallah, we will be going through Surah Al-Inshiqaq. And Surah Al-Inshiqaq is, okay, so from Al-Kurdi. Okay, yeah. So, mashallah, Al-Kurdi is a beautiful reciter. So that's, I think it was Surah Al-Naba that I shared with you that was done by Sa'd Al-Kurdi. So today, inshallah, we will be going through Surah Al-Inshiqaq. And Inshiqaq, the word itself means bursting open. And here, of course, it's talking about the sky bursting open. And since we've been through several surahs like this, the matter of this surah, or what is being talked about in the surah, will automatically be understood. However, what I want to point out is whatever similarities that we see between surahs, they're meant for one surah of the Quran to explain another surah of the Quran. So, for example, today we'll see a lot of similarities with Surah Al-Infitar and Surah Al-Takwir. And those similarities, each similarity that you see is going to turn out to be an explanation of what we've already seen before. Because there's a qaida, there's a maxim that we use, that the best tafsir of the Quran is actually coming from the Quran itself. And then whatever we don't understand, then we go to the Sunnah, and then whatever we don't understand, then we go to other sources. But Al-Quran yufassiru ba'dahu ba'da. That means the Quran, one part of it explains the other part of it. So today, in Surah Al-Inshiqaq, as we start, I want you to start taking note of things that we've already seen, but perhaps in a slightly different wording. So, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا السماء انشقت, when the sky bursts open. Here, the sky is bursting open. Have we seen any description of the sky on the Day of Judgment over the past few weeks? If you remember some words, just in English, just go ahead and type them in. What have we seen about the sky being described a certain way? What will the sky be like? Please type it in the chat window. In the meanwhile, I will continue, but please do that so that we remind ourselves of what we've already seen about the sky. وَأَذِنَتْ لِرَبِّهَا وَحُقَّتْ, obeying its Lord as it must. Pay attention to that. وَأَذِنَتْ لِرَبِّهَا وَحُقَّتْ, obeying its Lord as it must. The sky must obey its Lord. And it's not just the sky that must obey its Lord. وَإِذَا الْأَرْضُ مُدَّتْ, and when the earth is stretched out, flattened out, وَأَلْقَتْ مَا فِيهَا وَتَخَلَّتْ, and it will throw out, eject everything that's inside it, and will just become empty. And now, people who have explained the Quran have explained this more than one way. The most common explanation is that people who have already passed away and are now in the ground since the time of Adam alayhi salam up until the very last human being, they will all be thrown out, meaning they will come out. We will all come out, and we will obviously get ready for our reckoning on the Day of Judgment. وَأَذِنَتْ لِرَبِّهَا وَحُقَّتْ. Once again, that phrase is repeated. Obeying its Lord as it must. The sky will obey its Lord as it must, and the earth will obey its Lord as it must. You see, this is an interesting comparison with the rebellious human being. Because the sky, and what are we in comparison with the sky? Obeys its Lord as it must. And the earth, and what are we in comparison to the earth? Obeys its Lord as it must. It's only the rebellious human being who doesn't. Everything else obeys its Lord. In fact, there are actually other ayat of the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes what happens when we don't realize it, human beings don't realize it, but everything around us is actually praising Allah. So this is in Surah Al-Isra, for example. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. تسبح له السماوات السبع, that the seven heavens praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالْأَرْضُ وَمَنْ فِيهِنَّ, and the earth and whatever and whoever's in it. وَإِن مِّن شَيْءٍ إِلَّا يُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِهِ وَلَكِنْ لَا تَفْقَهُونَ تَسْبِيحَهُمْ. And there is nothing that there's nothing except that it praises or does the tasbih of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you don't, meaning we don't understand their tasbih. Everything is praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the time. It's only the rebellious human being who doesn't. There is a continuation where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then talks about the human being. And it starts with a very special wording that we've seen before as well. Ya ayyuhal insan, O man, O human being. Of course, addressing all human beings. إِنَّكَ كَادِحٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ كَدْحًا فَمُلَاقِيهِ. Indeed, you are working hard, toiling, laboring restlessly, actually towards your Lord. You're always working really hard, from one milestone to another milestone, from one step to another step, from one project to another project, from one thing you want to achieve to another thing that you want to achieve. That's what your whole life is like. And in this toil, you are actually moving towards what is a certain destination, which is you're going to stand before your Lord. فَمُلَاقِيهِ. And you will then meet. And this meet could mean you will meet your Lord, and it could also mean you will meet the consequences of things that you've already done. So I have an image here which describes which shows how we tend to see our life, which is from one step, one rung of the ladder to another, one step to another step. And each step seems like it is the most important in our lives at that time. Back when we were in school, perhaps passing a test or finishing school was the most important thing. Then afterwards, higher education might have been the most important thing. Then perhaps, I don't know, maybe at some point getting married was the most important thing. And then after that, something else is the most important thing. Every moment in your life, if you analyze it, we will discover that we were always working towards something. But there is actually a final destination that we need to pay attention to. So that's why I've changed the color of this particular verse. O human being, indeed you are laboring restlessly towards your Lord. Ya ayyuhal insan, innaka kadhun ila rabbika kadhan famulaqih. Because this verse seems to be the fulcrum, the pivot on which this surah is kind of based. فَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ. Now, at that final destination, those of us who are given the record of our deeds in our right hand, فَسَوْفَ يُحَاسَبُ حِسَابًا يَسِيرًا. They will have an easy reckoning. They will have an easy hisab. So once the Prophet ﷺ was making this dua and he said, "Oh Allah, give me an easy hisab. Allahumma hasibni hisaban yasira." Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ was making this dua and his wife Aisha radiallahu anha was close by. So she heard this. So she asked the Prophet ﷺ, "What does that mean? What does it mean to have an easy reckoning, easy assessment by Allah?" So apparently our records of deeds will be assessed. And the Prophet ﷺ described that it is like somebody is looking at the record. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this case is looking at the record of our deeds and notices what we did wrong, notices our mistakes, and overlooks them, lets it be, and continues on. Because everyone will have mistakes. Everyone will have, things that they regret in their life. But the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala overlooked them makes it an easy hisab. That's the kind of hisab that we want. So that's the dua that I'm leaving you with. Please remember to make it. You can make it in your own language, but if you want to make it in Arabic, it's Allahumma hasibni hisaban yasira. Oh Allah, give me an easy reckoning. وَيَنْقَلِبُ إِلَى أَهْلِهِ مَسْرُورًا. And this person will return to their people joyfully. The word used for people here is ahl, which usually means immediate family, but it's not just immediate family. It's their people means their fellow believers and also the fellow believers within their family. So they will go back to their family happy and joyfully. So the word here is masrura. Notice that I've also colored this verse differently, and I'm going to come back to the reason for that in a minute. وَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ وَرَاءَ ظَهْرِهِ. And as for one who is given the record from behind their backs. Now, why would somebody be given a record from behind their backs? Because that person knows that their record is being given in their left hand, and one explanation is that they'll probably just move their hand back because they don't want to be given their record, because they'll know this is it, and they'll be given their record behind their backs, even there. So once they're given their record in their left hand, that means they know where they're going to end up, which is in the fire of hell. فَسَوْفَ يَدْعُو ثُبُورًا. And that person will call out for being immediately eliminated, like complete destruction. So that they would rather that they were not there, they did not exist. And at another place in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Oh, you're calling for immediate destruction? Do not call for immediate destruction once, but call for it multiple times." Now, when we used to read these verses back in the day, I used to wonder what kind of things would a person do to deserve that kind of, that severe punishment. And it turns out that there are people who sin against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then there are other people who sin frequently against other people on a regular basis. I come across stories like this all the time when I meet people, in terms of meeting people that come across our regular path. But all of us are now seeing what's happening in Gaza and in the rest of Palestine. All of us are seeing that. And it makes us understand why some people will be asked to call for being destroyed multiple times. وَيَصْلَى سَعِيرًا. And such a person will cast themselves in the blazing fire. It's almost like their body will just, give way. They will just fall in the blazing fire. Or they will, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make their bodies move such that they will throw themselves in the blazing fire. Notice that after that, I have another verse which is colored the same way. Pay attention to that, because the color is very similar and the wording is very similar to what I had said before. إِنَّهُ كَانَ فِي أَهْلِهِ مَسْرُورًا. Because this person used to be very happy among his people. Used to be meaning in the life of this world. They were carefree. They did not care about being held accountable. So this person was carefree in this world, whereas the one who was careful in this world will be carefree in the afterlife. That's the very interesting juxtaposition of the condition of the person between this world and the afterlife. إِنَّهُ ظَنَّ أَن لَن يَحُورَ. He thought that he would never have to return to his Lord. Bala, إِنَّ رَبَّهُ كَانَ بِهِ بَصِيرًا. But indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was all-seeing of this person. Now, all-seeing has been described in the previous surahs is Kiram al-Katibin, the angels who are watching us. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has more knowledge that we've also seen in I think 2 weeks ago. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is even more knowledgeable than the angels as well of that person. So this person thought that they're not going to be held accountable, and yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was watching everything and is watching everything, every single thing that we do. Something interesting that I want to mention about Ahl, about family, because families are very important to us. Notice that when a person is given the record of their deeds in their right hand, this person will return to their people, and their people will mean their families and other believers. Now, their families, Allah specifies it is those among their families who are also believers. Because when we are very happy, we want to share that happiness with someone, and we turn towards the people we love most. The second interesting part of this is that the person who was carefree in this world also had their family and their people. And this person did not really care so much about their own accountability and did not care about the accountability of their family either. In another verse in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says and describes how people who are going to end up in paradise, they will talk about what their life was like in this world. And they will say, we were very mushfiqeen, we were, really concerned about our families. We would always worry about how our families would end up. Of course, how we would end up, but we were also worried about how our families would end up on the Day of Judgment. And we would, for example, remind them and tell them not to do evil things, just like we would remind ourselves. And we would tell them to do good things, just like we would remind ourselves. And all of that worry, and alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has now helped us and made our afterlife easy for us. So in this, some of us might seem like we're very intense people. Like we are always worried, like we are not carefree. But there's a reason why. Because it is only by caring about something that is extremely important that we will make the better decisions. And those good decisions are what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to make. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then invites us to reflect on the signs of nature. The signs of nature which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has laid down all around us. When we read the Quran, sometimes we make a mistake. I certainly did, and perhaps you guys didn't. The mistake is that we tend to see the Quran as a book of proofs. So we look for scientific miracles in the Quran, and there are scientific miracles in the Quran, and we look for psychological miracles in the Quran, and certainly there are psychological miracles as well. So there are many miracles in the Quran. The Quran itself is full of miracles. But its purpose is not that of a book of proofs. I used to make that mistake when I had non-Muslim friends, and I would recommend the Quran to them, and I would start talking about how the Quran proves this and that, and the child, the birth of the child in the womb, from the zygote all the way to the birth of the child, for example, or the description of the Quran of the darkness that lays under the oceans, etc. So there are many interesting miracles in the Quran. But as I've grown older, I've realized that the Quran is actually guiding the human mind to reflect deeply. All of these signs, whether they're scientific miracles or whether they're accessible to the average person who does not understand science, in both cases, it is guiding the human mind to reflect deeply. They are very sophisticated reminders that touch the psychology of the person who's seeking guidance. So we will see some signs here, and that's how I want you to perceive them. The sign that is mentioned here is, yes, that's right, so guidance towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, towards the true path. So the sign that is mentioned here is, فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِالشَّفَقِ. So I do swear by the twilight. وَاللَّيْلِ وَمَا وَسَقَ. And the night and whatever it envelops. وَالْقَمَرِ إِذَا اتَّسَقَ, and by the moon when it waxes full. Now, what's happening here? We've talked about the twilight, and we've talked about the night, and we've talked about the moon. So if you pray Maghrib and you spend some time outside after that, you will see twilight, and then the twilight will turn into darkness of night, and then eventually the moon will come out. As you see these three things, you're seeing progression. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions these three signs and then says, لَتَرْكَبُنَّ طَبْقًا عَنْ طَبَقٍ. You will certainly pass from one state to another. Just like there's twilight and night and then the moon comes out, your life also has these stages. You are in this stage of your life in this world at this time. And then there will be a next stage, which is the stage of the grave. And then there will be a next stage, which is the stage of the Day of Judgment, which is being mentioned here. And then there will be a next stage where it's either paradise or the fire of hell. These signs are reminders for us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also guides us as to how we ought to reflect. And then that is followed by a warning. فَمَا لَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. So what is the matter with them that they do not believe? The next verse, by the way, I'm not going to recite in Arabic right now. I will do it at the very end because then the sujood will become wajib on us. So let me just finish up and inshallah I'll do it at the end. I'll just do the English translation. And when the Quran is recited to them, they do not bow down in submission. So the word here is yasjudun, and I want us to think about that for a moment. It seems that making sujood, when we do it as part of our prayer, but falling in sujood, just out of awe, out of just feeling the awesomeness of something, just falling in sujood, it has existed in different cultures of humanity throughout history. Evidence of that exists in the Quran as well. So, for example, the magicians who were competing with Musa alayhi salam, when Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam threw his asa, threw his stick, and it turned into a snake, the magicians who were experts, they noticed that this is something beyond our expertise, and they fell into sujood. The second example is that the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salam, when he saw that dream as a child and he told that dream to his father, Yaqub, in that dream he saw the sun and the moon and the stars. He saw them making sujood to him. That is also an example of the awesomeness, feeling the awesomeness and falling in sujood. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking this question, why is it that, regardless of whether you're a Muslim and do regular prayer, even otherwise, even if you don't, why is it that you do not experience that awesomeness in all of these signs that you see, in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, in seeing the stages of your own life? Why is it that you do not, oh mankind, why is it that you do not just fall in sujood? So, and we pass through different states in the dunya as well. Yes, joy and sorrow, success and failure, health and sickness. Yes, indeed. And if that also is a sign for us. بَلِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا يُكَذِّبُونَ. In fact, those who disbelieve, they persist in their denial. يُكَذِّبُونَ, they deny. Denial is actually an active verb, where you make the choice to say, no, it's not true. You consciously think about it, and then you say, okay, I make the decision, and I say, no, it's not true. وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا يُوعُونَ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best whatever they collect or they pull together. So the word is translated here as they hide, and yeah, that's one explanation of that. Whatever they're collecting and sort of putting inside a covered bag. فَبَشِّرْهُمْ بِعَذَابٍ أَلِيمٍ. And give them the glad tidings of painful punishment. So far, mankind is being addressed, and there are painful news of punishment. Notice that this also started with something that was similar to what we had seen in an earlier surah. Here we saw, Ya ayyuhal insan, O human being, إِنَّكَ كَادِحٌ إِلَى رَبِّكَ كَدْحًا فَمُلَاقِيهِ. Earlier we had seen, Ya ayyuhal insan, ma gharraka bi rabbika al-kareem. O human being, what has deluded you about your most generous Lord? And that mankind is being talked about here, that, they're going to end up with painful punishment. And it would have been a very depressing end to the surah, except that the last verse is a sign of hope. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, except for those who believe. And not just that they believe, وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, and they do good deeds. Meaning they don't just believe verbally and in their heart, but they also do show it in their actions. لَهُمْ أَجْرٌ غَيْرَ مَمْنُونَ. For them is a reward which is never ending, and it's a reward that will never leave them. The impact of this one verse makes going through this entire surah worth it, because we started with a very shocking description of the Day of Judgment. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started addressing all of mankind, not just believers, but all of mankind, whether you're a Muslim or not, whether you claim to believe or not, all of mankind. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked to us about how there will be people who will be given their deeds in their right hand, and then those who are given their deeds in their left hands. And then suddenly became really depressing and painful about what that punishment will be like. And then in the end, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, there will be exceptions. Those people who will be given their deeds in their right hands. Who are they? They are the ones who believe and do righteous deeds. And for them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, there is a reward, happiness, which will not leave them, which will be never ending. This is Surah Al-Inshiqaq. And I want to leave you with a recitation of Surah Al-Inshiqaq, which is by the famous, you call Shaykh al-Qura, Shaykh Mahmud Khalil al-Husari. Al-Husari's recitation used to be found in everyone's houses about 20, 30 years ago in cassette form. But now, obviously this was a long time ago, there's a lot that we can learn from the way he recites. And he recites, and in this particular recitation, he recites very slowly and very clearly. And I want you guys to go through it, inshallah. Our colleague, our volunteer Isa, will share this with you guys in the group. And I just want to give you the opportunity. If you have any questions, go ahead and share them with me, and I will try and respond to them. Otherwise, we will wrap it up, inshallah. While we're waiting for questions, I just want to share with you a personal experience. About 2 days ago, my aunt passed away, and her son and myself, because we're mahram, so we went into the grave to lower her into the grave. So, as I was going through that experience, and as we were reading Surah Al-Inshiqaq, I was thinking about my aunt, and Jazakumullah khair. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless her with Jannah al-Firdaus. I was thinking about the life that we spent with her and the memories that we have of her, and the actions that she took and the choices that she made in her life. And she was a good woman, mashallah. But now she is, her deeds are done, and she, now basically she needs our dua and her children's good deeds and whatever sadaqah jariyah that she made. So as we're reading these surahs, we should think about the graveyard. Because as we were in the graveyard, as we covered her grave, we noticed there are many other graves close by. And anyone who visits the graveyard on a regular basis, you would see so many people that were like us. They used to walk the earth and, had reasons for being very arrogant and thought they were special, are now under the earth. And these are Muslims, so they are dependent on us to make dua for them. And soon they will be brought out. I'll answer the question in a moment. They will be brought out of the earth when the earth ejects everything that's inside of it. And then we'll stand before our Lord. And then, as we saw last week, we will be reminded of everything that we did in this world, and whatever we had and whatever we sent forth. ما قدمت وأخرت. Basically, as the Prophet said, the Day of Judgment, technically, the Qiyamat starts as soon as our eyes close, which can happen at any moment to anyone, including me and you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us this Ramadan to be freed from the fire, because in Ramadan Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala frees people from the fire, And it'll be very, very unfortunate if we go through Ramadan and we're not freed from the fire. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala free us all from the fire. I mean, okay. Which other surah mentions the sky? Okay, so it is mentioned in Surah At-Takwir, of course. That's one place where it's mentioned. It is also mentioned in Surah An-Naba. Sorry, Surah An-Nazi'at. That's right. That's another one that mentions the sky. And both of them, they describe the sky, becoming doors, or the sky turning red. And in this case, the sky bursting open. So these are the different surahs that mention the sky. And now we're getting a better, clearer picture of what will be happening to the sky in different stages or at different times. I hope that answers Surah Al-Infitar as well, of course. The cleaving of the sky. That's also mentioned the sky. Any other questions? Okay, so Jazakumullah khair. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to act on whatever we've learned and learn such that we get closer to Him. I mean, I will see you guys, inshallah, next week on Saturday at 4 p.m. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.